Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to be talking to a brilliant young inventor who is reimagining how we consume information. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, television's come a long way since the 50s. You remember I Love Lucy was basically Lucy and Ethel pacing across a living room scene. They were like one shot, maybe 2 cameras. Fast forward to the NFL games. These days, man, they've got 100 cameras around. They've got cameras on the football practically. But they're leaving something on the table. And my next guest is Denny Darmo. He is the president and founder of SnipItz. And he, during COVID, decided to launch a company. So Denny, tell everybody what you've come up with.
Yeah, first of all, Jeff, thanks for having me.
You bet.
I mean, at the end of the day, we were all kind of locked down. And frankly, my family and I ran out of things to watch. I mean, we had exhausted everything on every platform, you name it. Prime, Hulu, Peacock, Netflix, the top 10, it was just entertaining, but it was all the same. And so at the end of the day, I just thought there's got to be a better way of viewing things because no 2 people see things the same way. It's like being in a sports stadium, right? You have people on one side of the stadium, some other people on the other side.
Right.
And we're not getting the same perspective. And so I thought for entertainment, whether it be Broadway live concerts for sports, whether it be the UFC or the NFL or the NBA, if they're running their cameras anyway, why not allow the viewer to choose which cameras they want to watch through? And not just from the beginning, I mean the whole way through. So if I'm a fan of any particular athlete who's a superstar, and if I want to focus, because it's my choice, on that one person and one person alone, then I'm not going to allow who's ever in a broadcast booth to determine how I should be watching that event or that person.
I'm blown away by this. We're going to show a little video while we're talking, but you made the analogy earlier that if you're at a rock concert and you're a drummer and you just want to focus on the drummer instead of the guitarist, you can do that, right?
You can, and I think for companies who are content creators and people who promote these events, there's a huge opportunity for revenues. Because listen, even if you're paying top dollar for first row seats, what you're not seeing is what it looks like when those guys are coming out of the tunnel or even what's happening backstage in a dressing room. I would pay to see that, 100%.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you that I met Denny a few weeks ago, and not long after I met him, we were both featured on a TV spot for Spectrum News, which airs all across the great state of Texas. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
The way we watch entertainment could soon be changing. A North Texas entrepreneur has just built an interface platform that allows you to control the way you view content.
If you could imagine it and you could think it, you could make it happen.
A North Texas businessman has COVID-19 to thank when it comes to the spark that he hopes will soon land him on the top of the app charts.
We really had nothing else to do. We were trying to figure out, is this what life was going to be like?
While most of us were binge watching the same TV shows during the pandemic, Denny Darmo saw a way to put control in the hands of the viewer.
The idea was to be able to have the ability to generate content through a video experience that was different, in terms of its presentation of it all.
Darmo's app, called SnipItz, works by giving content creators like Jeff Crilley, who runs Real News Public Relations, the ability to give their viewers a toggling multi-camera view of their shows.
I think people like choices, and to have endless choices in the palm of your hand, it's nirvana.
Darmo plans to release the app later this year after nearly 2 years of sweat equity and sacrifices.
We ended up selling our home. We had a beautiful home in Georgia. and essentially moved into a townhome to cut expenses to really make this a reality.
A reality giving the ultimate remote control experience to view entertainment from whatever angle they choose.
We don't know where this app is actually going to end up. We just know that there's unique features that I think people are really going to take advantage of.
I imagine at some point Mark Cuban is going to write this guy a big check.
Darmo says the application gives users a unique perspective that can be mixed in with social media or even live events.
Every time we get an inquiry, people want to see it work. It's like being a kid in a candy store. I get so excited all over again because, I get to see things through their fresh eyes in terms of what this could possibly do for just the world of technology in general, but even for their businesses from an enterprise solution perspective.
Now, as your future agent, if Mark Cuban does call, I under 95%.
Of course. I thought you were going to say 96%.
What's been the reaction to people when they first see this?
It's been an absolute blessing. You always try to put together an idea that you dream one day might make sense and people might want to embrace, but things have moved very, very quickly. Unfortunately, we are under NDA in most instances, but I can tell you that we are talking to some of the largest players and some of the largest sports figures really in the world right now. So I think the second half of the year, it's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to be more or less launched.
Right.
By these other platforms with our help, and I couldn't be more excited.
Well, you don't have to name any athletes' names, but does his name rhyme with Michael Jordan? All right, you're under NDA. Okay, we can't go there. So I think this is fascinating. At this point, what does your company need? Do you need more investment dollars? What are your immediate needs?
We are at that point. Most of our developers are overseas, but we're looking for real talent out of the United States. In countries like Indonesia, believe it or not, it's hard to find iOS developers. And so you have to look for folks who understand, Flutter and that sort of thing. But it's time to bring things back home. A lot of interest is generating out of the States. And, frankly, what's happening globally really starts here. And I'm proud of that.
I just want to touch you to make sure some of this rubs off. You're a brilliant entrepreneur, and congratulations on having the courage to bring this to the market. We're going to end with your website. It's SnipItz.app is the website. Denny Darmo, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.